Welcome back to The Wedding Buzz. It's your host, Sydney, and today I am joined by my friend, a wonderful photographer, Brianna with Brianna Rose Photography. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Sydney.
I'm so glad that we made this work, finally.
Yes, finally, yes.
Finally.
It's been crazy.
I know, this season is like busy, crazy season.
Yes,
But
for sure.
For sure. All right, well, I will give you the floor for, a little bit, if you want to tell me like a little bit about yourself, how you started your business.
Quick little intro. Okay.
Quick little intro.
Well, like you said, I am Brianna Rose Photography. So I've been a photographer for almost 8 years. It'll be 8 years in July. It's kind of really been my calling my entire life from the time I started. Let's see. So we'll go way back when like third or fourth grade. And I was part of 4-H back in my little town.
My husband did
yes,
too.
Yes, in Northeast Iowa. So shout out to the little town of Strawberry Point. There's like 700 people.
That is
still
such a like small town little name, Strawberry Point.
Strawberry Point, world's largest strawberry is actually a thing.
Oh.
Yes, yeah. So did 4-H back in the day, loved it. And that's where it all kind of really started. My parents got me my first little digital camera that was like this big. And I entered into the photography category of it was considered non-livestock. And I went to state. I got a purple ribbon, I think, almost 4 years in a row. And so that really started my photography business then.
I didn't even know that I didn't know that you started that young.
Yes, I started that young. So I have always had a camera in my hand. And then long story short, I met my husband and we moved to St. Louis, and we were in St. Louis for a wonderful almost 13 years. And here I am. We moved last July here to Port St. Lucie, Florida. So,
Nice.
And it has been wonderful.
Yeah.
There's definitely an adjustment to the heat. It is hot up there in the Midwest, but this is a different type of hot down here.
Is a different kind of hot. So you started your photography business like almost 8 years ago, you said?
Yep. When I was pregnant with my son, and I kind of did jack of all trades back in the day. So this is another really quick thing, but I was in police academy when I got pregnant with my son. Yes. And so they're like, you're pregnant. You can't be, this isn't going to work yet, but come back when you're done and ready to go. And I'm like, well, I need a job. So I had this old camera that really didn't work at all, but I tried my best. And my brother-in-law actually was like, here, I have a decent camera. You can just use it. And so he did. He let me use it. And that was the start I started doing engagement sessions to families, to second shooting for photographers. And then I really dialed in what I really love to do. And love stories are like icing of everything. So I'm a big romantic, and I feel like a lot of my business is very centered around my faith, and God really brings us all together when it comes to unity of our partners. And so that is where I really focused on. And that has brought me so much joy in capturing those moments where we become one. And so being married myself, it's something that I definitely treasure. Marriage is something I definitely treasure. And so that is, weddings have become, second nature. So, and I absolutely love it. So
I was going to say, because I know that you are a faith-based girly, and I am too. We have that in common. But I was going to say, listening to your story, that isn't it funny? Like when one door closes, like another one opens, and it's like God clearly shut the door on your police academy.
Yes.
Which
he had other plans.
You were not meant to be in the street.
He had other plans for me.
Yeah, he had other plans. And like at the time you were probably like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like I'm pregnant. I need a job. Like, okay, I love photography. I did it, when I was younger, but I don't have a good camera. And like, here you are.
Here I am.
Almost 8 years later. It's worked out beautifully.
It has definitely been a journey. And it's one of those things that Jesus has definitely closed some doors in this photography business for my different niches. I love my kids, but family photography is not for me. I think every parent could probably say that when it comes to like, we love our kids. But watching other people's kids is something else, but that's just speaking for myself on that. But
no, I think a lot of people can relate.
Yes, absolutely.
Love kids.
Yeah,
but.
absolutely. And so, it's been one of those things is really seeing, what God created for us to be in the beginning was, us never being alone. And so having a marriage and becoming one is something that I definitely cherish. And so moving towards of only pursuing the wedding industry has been something that's, I feel very fulfilled.
That's awesome.
Yes.
I think it shows in people's work when it truly is like their passion and their love. And even, when I'm working with at weddings and stuff, it's like people can have great teams and part of growing a business is you have to delegate. That's a lesson that I learned harshly recently is that I have to let go and like delegate. But like working with the owner of a business, like if it's their true passion, like there's just such a difference. There's such a difference between someone who's clocking in, clocking out, doesn't give a crap about what they're doing, or when someone is like, this is my passion. I feel like God led me here. And I think it shows in your work.
Yeah. It definitely kind of starts from the beginning too. More or less like when you get the bride in her dress, mother's helping her zip up the dress. That mother has so much love for her child and so there's the love there, the connection between, whether she prayed for a child. And then you have the connection of when dad's walking the bride down the aisle, there's that connection between the love of dad and daughter. And then there's the connection where they, give themselves to Christ and they become one. And then there's that connection with God there. So it's all something that really has signified what I want to do. And so being that my business is very, Christ forward, that right there shows like why I love it. And so it's definitely fulfills me. A wedding definitely fulfills me. And there's moments I can be completely honest with you. I cry, I think, at every single wedding. And it's from like the moment they do a first look or their private vows to each other. They do a first look with dad.
The dad part. I'm really close to my dad.
Yes.
So I feel like the dad part always has me.
Yes. Us daughters with our dads, it's something else. And so it's one of those, there's always some sort of emotion that I'm going to cry at. And I think it's just how I just know this is my calling. It's, having that emotional connection to not only my couples, but also my vendor team.
I totally relate. I had that feeling just a couple of weeks ago at one of my weddings where the day was really smooth, but every wedding, the couple hours before ceremony is, I don't want to say chaos, but like it's definitely power hour. Yeah, I call it power
definitely
hour.
Intense.
It's intense and it's, things have to happen. And there are some things that it's like, we can't do it too early, but then you don't want to wait too late. So it's like kind of that power hour of like, okay, go, like everything's now. And so anyway, like I had the bride like went down the aisle and it was like, whew, like done. And then I just had this feeling of like I was so happy and like it all came together and that night, like seeing everyone dance and I was like handing out glow sticks on the dance floor with people. And it was just like so fun. And I just had this flashback to like crying in my corporate job, like every single day. And I was like, okay, like power hours, stressful.
Yes.
And there's like bumps in the road, but like, this is so my like calling, you know, like sitting in my cubicle was not it. Like,
yes, no, that's the same thing. That was the same thing with me, jack of all trades, I feel like I've said before. And so I went from, healthcare to police academy to pretty much any job you could think of. I had it and nothing brought me any type of like fulfillment compared to what I have now. And so especially in the last year, I feel like I've really dialed in on my brand and exactly who my clientele is and who I want to work with, and kind of be picky. And I think that's okay. I think it's okay, especially there's a wedding for everyone. And I think that's important too with all wedding professionals, especially opening up your business. There is a wedding for everybody. And you need to think of yourself. We need to think of ourselves more of as a community more than being like, oh, competition here. Cause we're here to do the same thing. And so that's why it's super important to have those vendor relationships too. And you're really there for your vendors. You guys all have one job to do. We all have one job to do, and that's to fulfill this wedding day for our couple. But working together as a team is super important.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's another thing we're moving forward. And here I am, year 8, and really figuring out exactly what I want the next 5 years to, or, whether the next 5 years or the next year to look like. What is my like type of client I want to work with? What's my type of planner I want to work? What type of look of weddings do I want? So, that has been the struggle, it's been the growth part of my business for the last 6 months, really pretty much since I moved here. That's another thing is you moved, like you had your business going in solid and then you moved to a whole different state. Where you didn't halfway across the country almost.
Yeah. And you didn't know anybody in the industry down here.
No.
And so I'm sure that was like a huge shift for you.
It was. And I give a little shout out to, Kate Turner, who's, Kate & Co back in St. Louis. She introduced me to a few planners. A lot of them are on the West Coast, but there is a few here on the East Side. So she definitely helped me, help me make connections that way. But a lot of it came down to me. It came down to making sure, I did put the work in. I can't just, come here, move and be like, all right, here I am.
Here I am.
Everyone booked me.
You've been waiting.
Right, I'm here, type situation. And, but yeah, I had to put some work in. And so it's taken me, making a connection with you, of course, and, joining, some local, networking groups to really start getting my foot in the door. Like I said, we have a wedding together, in November, which I'm so excited about.
Yes. At the Bend.
And I have a wedding in Daytona come September. Nice. So that's really exciting for me. But I also have 13 weddings back in St. Louis this fall that I'm going to
travel. I know you're still going back and forth,
I am.
I feel like
I still plan to, because I still love it up there. That's where my baby started. And so, but I still have really great connections up there, and I absolutely love, the people I work with up there, but it's great to really feel down here making new connections. And, there's so much variety of weddings down here.
Oh yeah.
There really is. You have from ballroom to, farm to, ranch. I mean, it's great.
There's a lot.
And it's always green. I will say it's always green.
It's always green. That is true. The summer's real hot.
Yeah, the summers are hot. But you guys don't have very many weddings during the summer. So
no, it slows down during the summer for sure. Like right now is the first time I feel like I can breathe in a little bit.
Right. As I'm going back to St. Louis for a wedding.
Yeah.
this weekend.
Well, as we were talking about like people being really passionate in what they do, I know something we on the side have talked about before is AI and editing, and how there are some photographers that are just totally using AI and not really putting the quality into their work. And I want to hear like you know a whole lot more than me.
Have you noticed any difference in the last, some of the weddings that you've like been like, I don't feel like I feel like she looked at this, or this photographer looked at this and kind of just, here it is.
I definitely feel like there are some where I'm like the exit sign is in half the photos, which I'm like, AI can't even take that out.
No, they don't. They're just like, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's a requirement under, the building law. We need to have the exit sign. No.
So, I mean, I definitely have noticed that. And then there's this sweet spot of like how long it takes photographers to give you your photos back, because sometimes the gallery is given like literally 4 days later. And I'm like, did you look at the photos?
Well, you can definitely tell if they've not done.
Right. So, I mean, I don't want a photographer to take 8 months, but
no,
sometimes if it's like, here's your entire gallery, like 2 days later, I'm like, you either have no life outside of this and you went home and that's all you did, which like, I get it. I'm a passionate person. If I'm excited about something, I definitely go home and like could pull an all-nighter doing it.
Yes.
But you can sometimes you can tell. Okay. Like,
well, it's good to know that you feel like you're like, I can tell that they probably didn't spend enough time on this. But yeah, so there's a time and place, I think, for AI. There's a time and place for,
well, tell us about it. Cause I feel like people who aren't in the photography world, like if you didn't tell me about this, like earlier when we were eating lunch, like I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah. So AI, and it's become part of our, daily lives, really, like from ChatGPT to everything. But AI for editing has become, it's been very beneficial. It really has for some photographers that, we have almost sometimes anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 images we have to go through. Now, what I don't think AI is for, I don't think AI is for culling, which is going through your photos and selecting your favorites. I think that is something the photographer needs to do, because you put it through a platform, a computer is going to be like, this image looks okay. And it's like, here it is. But there could be 3 other images that are maybe similar that are way better. And I feel like there's no connection to your images at that point. As a photographer, yes, I believe a good fast turnaround. I think that's super important, but I feel like the connection needs to be just a little bit better with our images. So calling for your images, absolutely, I don't believe is a go-to. I think when it comes to editing, yes, to an extent. I feel like so I do blogging. So I think you are doing that too. Yes. So yes,
I'm just getting back into it.
There you go. So I blog, but I want to be able to produce at least 150 to 200 images probably the next day of a wedding to be able to give to you, the planner, to be able to showcase. Because I believe when it comes to sharing the gallery or sharing the images from a wedding day, I think the planner needs to do it first. You guys worked all this time, whether with this client for months on end, planning from start to finish. I think you guys need to have that role of sharing it and then having us photographers, the next vendor, sharing it on their platforms. I think you guys need to have the big, like, here it is. I've done a lot of work, and you have. And so I believe that having 200 images, 300 images for you the next day, super helpful.
Yeah.
But I'm also fine tuning those images. They can go through an AI system of getting like the final, like getting the color correction right, whether there's shadows here or something like that. But I'm also going through those images and taking out the exit signs. And cause I want to be able to share them or submit them to publishing. The exit signs cannot be in there. So that's super important to me too. But I believe on having you to be able to share and showcase your work on something that I produced is something that I'm going to find detail, at least 300 images for you to be able to share with the client too. So you're going to be able to share. So a planner, I believe we shared 300 images with you. The planner's going to show it with the client. And that doesn't take any glory from me, because
no, it's still your images.
It's still my images.
Yeah.
The planner is going to be the one like, hey, we had an awesome, beautiful wedding this weekend, and here's the images the next day, or within 48 hours, I always say. But you're able to showcase it, and you guys get to post. And of course, Instagram now, you can just tag your, is it like a contributor? What is it?
Collaborator.
Yeah. And it shows up on my feed. So it's like, there it is.
There it is. Perfect.
So it's tagging me as a collaborator.
So you're getting engagement from like both people's followers.
Correct.
So the AI, like, I think I love AI. I mean, as far as like ChatGPT and stuff, like I use it all the time, but I think that it's a great tool, but it can't totally replace the photographer.
Correct.
And I mean, it can, in a sense of like the photographer can just use it and dump it. And I'm sure that it works for some people, but I feel like you can just tell when there's
because they're not taking out the things. If there's, an electric pole or something like that in the background, they're not taking those things out. And so that's where it comes into our expertise and making sure that we know how to edit. And so that's another thing too, is, doing this for 8 years. I started with a DSLR camera that it wasn't mirrorless. It was not like you had to take the photo, look at the image on the back, check your settings, and then take the photo again to get the exact image you wanted. Nowadays, mirrorless is so good, which is great. So there's no mirror, there's nothing. It's all digital. And you pretty much set your settings, how your image is, and that's how your image is going to be. Like it literally, you can adjust, which is great. It's so great. But then it comes down to, okay, now don't even have to edit them. Because I've seen it where like, oh no, I just put it into Lightroom, I throw it to the AI editor, and there it is. And it's like, well, then where's your expertise on making sure that, hey, I need you to fix this person's, say his pocket was out. if you don't know how to remove a pocket, well, we gotta make sure we do that. Or AI doesn't get your, color matching to be cohesive. Like lighting can be different over here. Lighting can be different over here. And so if it doesn't match that, how are you going to know exactly how to edit that? So I'm very, very fortunate that when I started, I was actually able to learn Lightroom, learn how to edit, learn Photoshop, learn the tools I needed to become the photographer I am, because it's come where it's almost robotic. And I'd hate for the wedding to become almost robotic. It takes out the connection wise. And that's, I think, why I get so connected to my photos. It's one of those things. It's like, I'm very picky and my team knows how picky I am. But it's a good thing why I'm picky. It's like, it's like, oh, what's the difference between this photo and this photo? Grandpa's not looking. You may not tell, but grandpa's not looking at me. So we're going to make sure we pick this one, but AI might not be able to fix that. AI might pick the other one. So, so that's where AI isn't great for helping me write emails and stuff like that. And, create captions for Instagram. But I can tell, I know I get more likes or comments on an image when I build the caption and I write it out from my heart than AI did. And so I think, and I've noticed that. So, now I'm really pushing to make sure I'm writing the caption from my heart instead of AI doing it, because I think people can tell.
I think you can tell when it's like, it doesn't sound like, human.
Me.
It's like almost too
perfect.
Yes. And,
I need to add the ums in there. No, I'm kidding.
Right. But honestly, it's relatable, because who actually talks like that in real life? When I was telling you, when I first started my podcast, I tried to have it like perfectly scripted and perfectly outlined. And if I like said or I would freak out, because I was like, I want it to be perfect. And then I'm like, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. And I don't need anyone to think that I am. It's not relatable. No one's going to relate to perfect, because no one is perfect.
Right.
So
exactly.
Anyway, I definitely think AI is a cool tool, and I can see where it's like helpful to photographers, but I think that they're, like you're saying, like there's just a difference when you spend time and put your own personal touch. But I think you're better off for knowing how to actually do all these things, and like, the art of it. And I think in the long run, like it'll really pay off for you.
And I really agree with that, because it's one of those things. It's like you spend all this time wanting to be a photographer, and it does take a long time. I will be honest. Nowadays, I feel like it's almost cut in half, because our equipment is so good. It's not as expensive as it was back in the day. And then we have all these AI tools that are able to almost replace the things that we worked hard on understanding and getting to know. But I almost feel like I have the benefit, because like I didn't have to I can just take this image and say so-and-so's head was turned, and we don't have another image of him looking at the camera, but I have an image over here that he took with the groom. I can take that right into Photoshop and switch it. And so that's something that kind of saves too. It's like, okay, like this person, we don't have a full family and he's not looking. I have a picture of him looking here. Let me just put that into Photoshop and I can fix that.
Let me fix it. Yeah. And that's really good that you can do that.
Yes.
So as we're talking about like editing and stuff, do you find that you have a specific style or like something that couples, should maybe look for if they're looking for a certain thing that you might be like a good fit? Like what's kind of your style, your vibe with photography?
So now that it's kind of grown. So back in the day, I really started with whatever was popular at the time. Okay, we're going to start with like dark and moody and then the orange skin tones. But now I picked up film, and film you really can't edit. What you take the photo of is kind of almost the point of what you get. Yeah. So understanding the film aspect, I have really transitioned into true to color. What you see is kind of what you get. And I think that's so important because, you have a florist that has all these beautiful, we have these beautiful flowers, all different colors. And then you flip a dark and moody filter on it that may adjust those color tones. And it's like, those flowers were actually red and now they look orange. And so it's like on a florist aspect, they're like, they look beautiful before. What happened? Now I will not ever diss anyone that I will not take apart, because dark and moody is actually extremely hard to edit, by the way. Yeah. So having people that are those certain style and do it well, I give them all the props, because it is extremely hard to edit that way. But I love what I see. And so God produced that type of wedding, type of floral, type of arrangement on a wedding day. I want to be able to capture exactly how it looks like. So I don't believe anything like that will ever go out of style. I feel like it's very timeless. And I feel like it's very elegant. I go back to that film aspect of it. Like you can't really edit film. When you take that photo, it is there. It's a chemical. The chemicals in the film are what produce that image. And so we can't it's gotten very close. Digital photographers have gotten really, really close to, what film looks like now, but there's still part of me that knows that's film and knows that's digital. So, but I play with both on the wedding day now. And so I've really starting to slow down my time, take my time on taking my photos, making sure things are, make sure everything's almost perfect. Chair pushed in or not pushed in. So on a reception day, you're not supposed to have the chairs pushed in. They're supposed to be just touching the linens. Just little details that I can tell that I want to be able to fix because I don't want to have to fix them in editing. Yeah. And that's another thing too. Like, yes, I love to edit, but then again, I don't love to edit. If I can get everything correct in camera.
Yeah. If you could
it makes my life so much easier.
That's something I like in my own personal life. I've been like, just do it right the first time and you don't have to go back. I find myself little stupid things. Like when you change the toilet paper roll, like, right. I don't know, like put the actual, put it on the roll the first time. Yeah. Don't put it to the side or put it on the floor. Like, I don't know if I'm the only person on the planet who does that. I've been like, just do it right the first time. Because then next time you come, you have to do it again.
Right. Exactly. It's taking that extra 5-10 seconds to really put your camera down and look at the scene and say, okay, I know I need to fix that. Or I know, I got really quick at a wedding one time and there was one table that I did not light candles at. We didn't light the candles on the one table, but I took the pictures and I was so mad at myself because I'm like, how did I miss the one table? And of course it's in the middle. It's not on the side. It's in the middle. And I missed the one table and how I missed that, I'm not sure why. But I did. And I had to edit my little heart out to make it look semi-decent. Now the planner or the bride didn't tell me that they noticed it, which I hope they didn't, but it's still one of those things is I want to make sure I take those 5 extra seconds or 10 extra seconds to make sure that shot is perfect. Yeah. And slowing down and therefore I don't have to edit it. It's just a peace of mind for myself.
Makes a big difference.
Yes.
So this kind of ties into another hot topic, documentary style photography.
I love it when it's pursued correctly, if that makes sense. So you have known, and I have kind of been a witness to it too, is the documentary style photographers, they capture some of the amazing moments. And I really pursue that in my team. So I consider my second shooter and my assistant to be the documentary style photographer for the day. What I would hate, which I think we've talked about, is on a day when there's no direction. A client looks at all right, what do we need to do next for photos? That is my expertise. That is where I come in. Okay. Giving some sort of direction, where to put their hands, where to look, where, let me fix her hair, something like that. I feel like is definitely needed. Now, when you have photographers, we're going to stand against the wall here and we're going to live in the moment with you and we're just here. And then you have a bride that's like, I want a documentary style, which is amazing, but what do I do next? Yep. And you as a planner are doing 10 bajillion other things on that wedding day, whether it's setting up for ceremony, setting up for reception, cocktail hour, bringing in other vendors, stuff like that. You have a role to tell the bride where to go, but you also have 10 other hats that you're wearing that day. And so as a direction of the photographer, that's where we come in. So I know, like I said, we have talked about it. I love when it's done correctly.
I definitely plan, I put the photography timeline into my timeline of when we're doing first look. I even put head down to first look location. That's a 5 to 10 minute chunk in the timeline, depending on how far we need to walk or travel or whatever. Right. Then it's the actual first look is blocked off. So I feel like I put that into my timeline and such. I am always there to try to bring the bride to the right place and help the photographers like do the positioning and whatever we need to do. And this is why I bring a team, so that my team can also be setting out place cards while I'm doing this or whatever.
Right.
But like, I also need the photographer to like, then like do the first look or like,
right.
you know, do something, or like if I need to walk away for a second, that they're actually doing something. And my issue with documentary, again, like you're saying, I like it when it's like the second shooter, but there has to be a balance. I mean, I have had a documentary photographer basically be like, I don't do timelines. I was like, where are you going to do the first look location? And they were like, we're just going to wing it. We're just going to wing it. Well, guess what? The bride and groom are now coming to me separately with deer in the headlights being like, what's happening? Why, where are we going?
That's where the direction comes in with the photographer.
Like, so when the bride is then like begging me to like take over because they're not doing anything, like it doesn't work. And so I feel like there has to be a balance. And the thing is I think a lot of brides think it's like cool and trendy to do the documentary style.
Which it is. It is so trendy right now. And it's beautiful. Some of the moments they capture is beautiful. Right. But that is the job of my second photographer. I still need to help you with the control of what we need to do next.
Yes.
Because again, you wear 10, 15 hats on a wedding day, and our job as a photographer our expertise is photography. So my expertise is, okay, if she's like, what is our next shot? It needs to be, okay, we're going to put you in your dress. That takes more than 5 minutes. By the way, I've had someone come back on time. Oh, it only takes 5 minutes to put a bride in. It takes 30. It takes 30 minutes to put a bride in a dress and capture the details that we need to capture as photographers. And so
you and I should sit and work on timelines, because
it really needs,
so hard.
It is. It's so hard. And
I think the other thing that's hard is that people want to save money. So they book like a 6-hour package and then they want everything in there. So then it's like, okay, well,
which is now something that I don't offer anymore.
It's not enough time.
It's not enough time. You want to cram in a full 8 to 10 hour wedding and a 6-hour wedding. And it's like, and you have a full bridal party and you have full family photos that you have, and you're not doing a first look. So that's another thing when it comes down to timeline. It's either you're going to spend the money on 2 extra hours or 3 extra hours with an assistant for a photographer, or you need to figure out, by the way, in that budget that they need to be doing, there also needs to be a coordinator in there. Whether it's, I always push for, a planner being from the very beginning, because that's super important. We'll come back to that tab. But when it comes back to the documentaries, there needs to be some direction that the bride and groom need to be. And so it's like, it takes 30 minutes to get her in a dress. Then we have to make sure we get the photos with her and mom, which is so important. Then we get it, if they wanted to do a first look with her bridesmaids, that's so important. And then we do first look with groom. There's another 20 minutes. So in that long time of her getting in her dress to doing first look, that's about a 45-minute time stretch of making sure it's documented well and given direction and locating and getting to the location of first look.
Yeah. And we can turn into drill sergeants and be like, run. But like, who wants that vibe on your wedding day?
You don't need to be stressed. Let's not stress.
No, we don't need to be running from location to location just to fit this like crazy timeline that's not going to work.
Right. And so I would much rather make sure as a bride, because, we both have been one. As a bride, I would much rather make sure that you captured the little details that I know of is important, which is why a shot list is so important. And coming from the couple plus the planner, I think is so important too. Having a shot list to make sure we capture those, but also making sure it's not like one of those things where we're drills. Okay, now zip the dress. Now, put her veil over this way. I'm not to that extent. I still let them live in the moment, but it is one of those things they need direction. Unless you've been married, I always feel like if you've been married multiple times, it's one of those things where you may know what you're doing, but it's all different. It's all going to be captured different. It's all going to be, the moment's going to be different, So you may say, oh, it only took me 20 minutes. It's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Minimum 30.
I'm all for, again, some documentary, the second shooter being like the documentary style, or even like, okay, now that we're in our first look, like location and stuff, okay, just be natural with each other and we'll document how you guys are naturally, like it doesn't have to be so posed, but when
That's
it's
one of
like
those
the
things.
photographers, like, I'm going to hide in the corner and you don't even see me and just let the day play out. Well, it's like, okay, that's not it.
No, that's not documentary style. That's I'm here as a, what's those, the people that like paparazzi. That's paparazzi.
Yeah, that's paparazzi.
We're going to call that paparazzi style.
That is paparazzi.
Because I feel like that is what they do. They hide in the bushes and here we are. That's more paparazzi style. We're going to do more documentary style is, I believe, my second shooter or my third shooter. My second shooter is always assisting me, but my third shooter is catching the moments that either her and I, didn't capture.
So I think like, if you're a bride or groom listening and you're interested in doing documentary style, but you hear what we're saying, like ask your photographer these questions. Ask them like, how do you feel about timelines? How do you do you direct that day? Yes. Or are they like, no, we're loosey goosey, we wing it. I mean, if you're cool with like total wing it, no family portraits, no nothing, like, okay, maybe that type of photographer is good for you.
Because it's come down to where there's no direction. There's no direction from a photographer.
I find that most brides do want some direction, even if they don't want the whole day to be a photo shoot.
Right.
They still want some
completely different
order, like to the day. So I would just recommend kind of being aware of that.
Right.
I want to ask you, I know that photography, like people care what they look like in their photos so much. Myself included, you and I have been talking about doing a brand shoot and I've been like, oh my gosh, what am I going to wear? What do I get my hair and makeup done? I want to look good. Well, like it's nerve wracking. So what is your advice for like getting good photos and liking how you look in the photos or just preparing for that day? Cause it's not normal to be in front of a camera unless you're a model, which most people aren't.
Right. No. And, no offense to models. But I definitely blend well with people that are not models. Yes, absolutely. But on preparing for like an engagement session or, something to that, I feel like you should go all out. I feel like go get your hair done by a professional, go get your makeup done by a professional, nails, and even how, like, I send out, a preparation guide for my engagement sessions. Especially if they don't have any type of they don't have someone to help coordinate outfits or anything like that. So they help with my Pinterest board, stuff like that. But go to a stylist, that someone like, hey, I need 2 outfits for my engagement session. This is the look I want. Can you help me? Spending that extra money on having somebody that styled both of you makes you feel a little bit more like you're going to love your photos because you spent that extra time getting your hair done for the day, extra time getting makeup done for the day. And then all of a sudden it rains and you're like, what are we going to do? We got to reschedule. No, we can find a plan B and find an indoor site. It's very hard, and it might be one of those things where you have to redo everything again, but getting yourself put together and not just flipping on some mascara, unless you're that person's like, I don't do makeup, which is great. But I always tell them to go all out, just almost to the extent of your wedding day. A lot of brides will go get their trial done. They'll go get their trial done for like their makeup trial done for their engagement session. And they'll have an adjust of like how they feel. Now they always give enough time to where, it's 6 hours before their shoot, because sometimes they're like, I don't like that, my makeup, let's fix it. So there's always that time. And the hair and makeup artists always know too, like, hey, it's my engagement session. I want to do my trial that day. So a lot of brides will do that. But they'll also have, I think actually Nordstrom does this. I don't know if you knew this, but Nordstrom has a stylist there for free. Like they have a stylist there for free that you can be like, this is the event. This is what I'm looking for. Can you help me? And they will style you. So that's a new thing I found out.
Interesting.
Also, Aritzia does that too. They have a stylist that will come in, that will pull a bunch of outfits for you and be like, this is what I want. This is what I'm looking for. And they'll help you, plan for that. So, and they'll get the guy ready too. You'll get your groom ready too. So, that sometimes spending that little extra money or little extra time planning is really great.
That's true. I mean,
I always
making sure that you actually,
well, it's just like kind of like our branding shoot too. We talked about, branding. We want to be 100% put together. And getting your hair done by a professional, getting your makeup done by a professional. Let the professionals do it. I think it also,
I hear brides all the time. They're like, maybe I'll just do my own makeup. Don't to the listeners, don't devalue the value of like your peace of sitting there and just getting your hair and makeup done. It's stressful when like, I feel like when I'm doing my hair and makeup for like a big event or a day that I like really want to look good is like the day that nothing goes right. It's the day that like
it never does. And
everything's a mess. Nothing's cooperating. And so it's like, don't let that be your wedding day.
Right.
Okay. So how about on the wedding day? Like they're getting professional hair and makeup. They obviously have this dress that's like been tailored to them and they're still nervous for like their photos. Like, do you guide them in posing, like, or do you have any advice for like how to just breathe in front of the camera? And
so I think there's always going to be those nerves, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time planning this wedding. Here we are. Finally, I get to become a wife for the first time, or I get to become a husband for the first time. So there's always those nerves. Those are good nerves. I feel like those are always good nerves. And then you have the nerves of, oh my gosh, what if my hair doesn't turn out? Oh my gosh, I'm not having a good like face day. Like my skincare did not work out. Something to that. It is one of those things that you just have to let it happen and it's going to be okay. I always feel like don't have your phone on your wedding day. Give it to your planner or someone else that can help you with that. And another thing for like guests or family, don't message the bride on the wedding day. Don't do it.
Yeah.
They have way too much in their head to worry about. That is, you message somebody else, whether it's the planner or, someone that may be part of the wedding party, or even assign somebody like they are taking all calls from here on out.
Yeah.
Any questions that you may have about parking goes to them. Cause that seems to be like, I don't know where to park. Should I use valet? If there's valet, you should definitely use it. So it goes down to don't message the bride on something that could be answered, whether it's in your invitation or something that can be answered by somebody else. That's where the planner actually, I feel like, is super important in this role, which is why I now require it for all my weddings moving forward, because it turns into I become the planner. And but going back to that question of, I think having a designated coordinating person for your day helps relieve all that stress. Having a coordinator to handle all your vendors will, again, relieve all that stress. So it comes down to spending that extra money on a planner or day of coordinator is something that, it's definitely different from the venue coordinator. Definitely someone that come in to run the day is going to help you so much with that stress. And it comes down to what their expertise is. My expertise is a photographer. I am here to take the photos, also give direction on helping with the photo aspect of the day. I am not here, unfortunately, to help you guys get in line. I am not here to know if grandpa, is going to be here for family photos. I'm not here for that.
That's what I'm here for.
That is what Sydney is over here is for. Yes. Going back to that, like I said.
So I feel like a lot of you keep going back to alleviating stress. Yes. And it's something that I feel so strongly about too. And people, I feel like they're like, I don't want to spend the money on that. I'm like, you guys need to realize how spending a little money on something that's going to alleviate your stress will help you enjoy the day. It'll help you with your photos because you can tell when you're stressed out in your photos.
Yes.
And so all of these little things of having things just done for you can help you be more relaxed. And then as a result, you're going to like your photos better because you are genuinely smiling in your photos. You're not gritting your teeth and
someone didn't do this. Someone didn't, put flowers here, or that is what the planner is for. And so it comes down to I will go back to this. When I got married, almost 7 years ago, I even had a coordinator for the day. I spent total budget on my wedding, $10,000 total between dress, food. Now we had a location that was family owned, but between all that, I still had a coordinator.
How many guests did you have?
I was actually kind of small. I was only 70 people.
No, I mean, that's still a decent amount.
Yeah. 70 people, all friends and family. But we had a tent at a family location, and we brought everything in, rentals, all the things. I had a coordinator for that day. And yes, she was a family friend, but her main job was to coordinate the day. And so she didn't have to worry about she didn't have to worry about kids. She worried about where things went. And I even knew I was going to have somebody for that day. Like I knew, cause I didn't want to do it. I was way too much stress and everything else that I had to worry about, that making sure I went down, like, well, more or less it was the rain. It rained on my wedding day, but it was okay. It was fine. God blessed it. So I was okay with that. And we've been doing great for, the last 7 years. And, going back, like I still knew I needed a coordinator. And regardless if it was a family friend or not, but make sure with it being a family friend that they know their main role of what they're doing. She is a boss. Mm-hmm. She has 5 kids. She is a boss. And so she knew that her day was, I am going to coordinate this day and no one is going to get in the way of that between their happiness. And so here's what we did. And that was her expertise. And so, but it's super important now. Regardless if you feel like it's not in your budget, it needs to be part of your budget. It
needs to be part.
It needs to be part of your budget.
Yeah.
And, whether you did full planning or partial planning or just day of coordinating, it needs to be a part of it. Your venue, unfortunately, there is a difference between your venue coordinator and your coordinator for your wedding day. Because you probably have known, I've come to weddings where it's like, yeah, we have a venue coordinator, but they're also have multi-weddings going on and they are still showing people their venue.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, hey, we're just the venue coordinator, but we'll make sure.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
that people, when we're setting up for weddings and all of that,
and they're doing tours. Yes.
So it's like tours, which is fine. They're the venue coordinator.
Exactly.
So they're coordinating the venue. And if they don't need to be doing something for the venue that moment and they have time to go do a venue tour, good for them. Yes. They're not in charge of coordinating with the DJ or the florist or the photographer. No, they're coordinating the venue, not the actual wedding. So
Right.
Big difference.
So that's where it comes down to questioning. Make sure if you're deciding like, hey, between having a venue coordinator or a planner or coordinator for the day, that's questions you need to ask your venue. Be like, all right, who's tearing down? Oh no, we don't tear down. Oh, who's setting up? We'll help you set up, but we don't tear down. Okay. So who's helping my people get in line? No, I'm not we can try, but we're also still open for the day. We also still have people coming in and looking at the space. So it's really comes down to, I always believe you should start with your planner before you book a venue. I think that's your planner's expertise is finding you a venue. But if you decide to bypass that and you're like, I already know where I'm getting married, this is exactly it. That needs to be then your second.
Yeah.
And then,
for sure.
And then of course, like it comes down to your planner's going to help you with recommendations for your other vendors too. They've worked together.
And I get people who are like, do I have to work with your vendors? And I'm like, no, I don't force that, but like, there's a reason I work with who I work with.
Right.
So I love meeting new vendors and like,
I think it's great.
I wouldn't
really
know
great.
The people that I love if I wasn't open to meeting new people. So I obviously love that, but, there's a reason. Trust your vendors. That's all I'll say is like, have a planner, trust your vendors. If your photographer's telling you to do something, trust them. There's a reason they're saying it. Like,
I always say when I'm doing couples, like this feels awkward. That means it's beautiful. Like, If like, this feels really weird. It's beautiful. I'm telling you that if it feels weird, it's beautiful. So that's exactly how I like bypass her. Like, this is kind of weird that this pose I'm doing. I promise you, it's beautiful. You'll love it. And it ends up being their favorite photo.
The more awkward you feel, the better it looks.
Yes.
No, that was on my wedding day too. She had us like walk up this hill through these trees and just like, she was like, just walk. I was like, why am I climbing a hill? And she's like, it looks good. And it did look good. It did look good.
It looks great on my wall climbing this hill. No, it's the same thing. I'm like, I need you to frolic in the grass, like, but not looking at me while you do it. You have to look at each other. And they're like, but how am I supposed to know where I'm going? You just keep looking at each other.
Just keep frolicking.
I will make sure you don't fall in the pond beside you. Okay. So yes.
That's so funny. Do you have like a favorite moment to shoot?
Favorite moments. So there's multiple, but my favorite moment is when they come down the aisle, when they come back down the aisle. Cause then it's like, all the stress is gone. They did it and they're here. And I always ask before is like, is one of the shots on your shot list, do you want to dip in the middle of the aisle to have that like seal of perfection? Or do you want to save it and do it like for during your first dance? And 80% they'll be like, I want to do it down the aisle. Cause that's like my moment.
That's like one of my favorite photos from my own day.
Yes. Same. And then I'm like, okay, how is he dipping you? Have you guys practiced? And they're like,
Oh my gosh.
We had to practice for that. Yes.
Happens at rehearsals all the time. Yes. I'm like, okay. And like halfway down the aisle.
I send my couples a video. Like it is, it's actually, she's on TikTok. It is a literal, like step by step how to exactly do it.
It's a good idea. I run through it at the rehearsal and usually give them my like tips, but it's always horrendous and they feel weird because their family's just looking at them. And the next day, there's going to be 100 people looking at you, but like for some reason on the actual wedding day, it doesn't feel weird, but the rehearsal, everyone is so clammed up and so weird.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, we got to
totally
practice
different feeling. It's totally different feeling, but definitely practice. But
that is a great moment.
That is one of my favorite moments. And then I always, typically if there's some type of exit from the reception, whether we did a mock exit with your family or, there's like, just like one of those, like, hey, I want like night photos. That'd be really cool if us like leaving. One of my favorite moments is, so it was back in St. Louis. You guys probably have seen that photo. But back in St. Louis, I was about ready to leave. It was like 9:30 and I'm like walking outside and it's starting to snow. And again, it doesn't snow here in Florida, but it snows sometimes actually really rare in Missouri sometimes. And I said, hey, would you guys want to do like 1 or 2 shots before I leave? Of you guys in the snow. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Now they have had a lot of fun during reception, of course. So it is one of those things like, look, read the room, I guess, at that aspect. But they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I set up some flash with my assistant and it was probably one of those show-stopping pieces. I probably won't, I try to recreate it every time I'm at this venue, but it's not the same because it's not snowing. And it is one of those pictures that probably goes down in history, like my favorite shot.
I'll have to go look through your portfolio later.
It's the snowing when we're, and actually that shot that's on my website and on it's like on the, what's it called? The banner of my Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'll have to go look.
That was my test shot. And I literally took that shot and was like, I think we're good.
We're good.
I think I took maybe 2 more and I was like, we're good. And they're like, did you get it? I'm like, no, we got it. Like that was my test shot and it was perfect. And it is
one and done, baby.
One and done. And then now, one of my favorite things to capture now is with the drone. So drone photography has been
into drone.
Yes. So, drone photography has been like one of my big things. I've actually film and drone is the new thing this year for me. Well, not new, but it's within the last 2 years and it has been so much fun. Like I get to be a pilot above your ceremony and to capture above your ceremony. And so now I have it to where my third shooter is why I'm having a third shooter nowadays at my weddings. They're working the drone why I'm focused up front, capturing the bride coming down the aisle and the groom, along with my second photographer doing the back shots of that. So drone photography has been really, really fun.
Yeah.
So
they're really cool shots.
Yeah. So, I think it's really essential for you planners too, especially if you have an outdoor ceremony and reception space, or a cocktail hour, like especially a tent wedding, something like that. I think definitely needs to be something that planners need to, whether they hire somebody in to do those shots or, ask the photographer if they have one. Cause I think it's fairly beneficial for you guys too, cause it shows your hard work from above.
Yeah.
Like this is what God sees, I think.
Yeah.
When I really think about drone photography, this is what God sees. So
that's cool.
I just did a style. I don't know. I showed you that picture. I just did a style shoot.
Yeah.
Yes.
So cool.
And they, it's sent into publishing, so I can't share the photos just yet. So we're just waiting on, response on that. But I had a drone. So the style shoot is just something that it's like a collaboration for vendors. They put together, like a little mock wedding with some models and stuff like that. So if anyone didn't know what a style shoot was. And so I am on the ground. I have my drone up in the air. There's really like one shot that you can get from this because we're shooting off smoke. They're like almost like fireworks, but they're not fireworks. They're just
it's like smoke bombs,
but they like go like directly up in the air and they make this really cool, like effect, like backdrop. So I am on the ground and I am trying to get the front shot and I have a drone up in the air. you should have seen me. I was literally like holding, and I didn't record it. Like I actually was pushing the button to take the photo.
Really?
So, cause I'm like, you don't get as good quality if you're videoing it. So I'm like holding the shutter on my drone remote, and I have my camera, and I am like high speed shooting on my camera and high speed shooting on my drone, hoping for the shot.
Just hoping.
And so I'm like, all right, did I get it? I wasn't worried. I mean, I know I got it with this camera, but I'm like, what did I capture? Cause it takes a minute. Like it captures, it's not like da, 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 da. It's more like done, done, done for your drone. And I got that shot from above that totally, everyone was there. They know I screamed. Like I was like, holy cow. And I looked up and I'm like, thank you, God. But yeah, it was one of those shots like that I cannot wait to share with you guys once I hear back from publishing. But it's one of those like show-stopping pieces. I want to see. So besides the snow photo, that's my next favorite. Favorite. So now I'm like, everyone at weddings needs to have smoke bombs. Smoke bombs. But not during reception, like not during like your first dance. Don't put smoke on the floor during your first dance. You know that. Like, yeah, I've had like my last wedding, they decided they were going to turn the smoker on during their first dance, and photo and smoke do not mix well on a first dance. Yeah. But yeah, too much.
Okay. Well, I ask everyone that's on the podcast, do you have any horror stories?
My goodness. Okay. Well, I
gotta pick your favorite one. You're like, do I?
It's been recent. This was a recent one.
Yeah.
It was, I was at a wedding. I actually filled in for, another company, like some of the companies that do like, high value. So they like hire photographers in, and you don't meet the bride and groom till like the day. And so I filled in for this one. It was actually here in Florida, and it's at this beautiful home estate. Like, I mean, beautiful home estate. And there's no coordinator. There's no planner. There is no one in charge whatsoever. So here in video team and I show up and we're like, hi, I of course had to create the timeline, which is fine. I at least helped with that. I always like to,
Did you talk with them before you got there?
I did. I at least talked with them, but this bride, was very young. So it was more like asking mom, like, what does she think? Which is fine, to an extent of like, how do you want your day to go? And there was she didn't really, have an idea, because she's never been in a wedding before. I don't think she had ever been in a wedding before. So then I show up, and there's a video team as well. It's just him, just a videographer and I. And there was no second photographer. And I show up, and there's no one to coordinate anything. Like, we have parents. Ceremony is at 4:30, and I arrived at 2:30. Parents are still setting up the tent.
Parents were setting up a tent?
Yeah. Parents were setting up the tent. They were still setting up the tables. There was somebody there doing there was a florist there that was still making bouquets. And I'm like, okay, so we have a bride and her girls in a room, like getting ready. And then I have a groom that's just hanging out, and his party was just hanging out. So she wanted to do a first look with her dad, and she wanted her mom to help her in her dress. It is now, at this time, I've done like what I can do. I'm like, all right, we need to start getting you in a dress. It's 3:00. Like, and you want to do a first look with your groom. And she wanted all her photos done before ceremony. That was not happening because we still didn't have parents dressed. So I had to.
That's in my timelines. Mom get dressed, dad get dressed.
Yes. As it should. Yes. Yeah. And so I had to go out to the tent, as they are, by the way, they are still moving things out of the way. Like they had, some pallets of stuff. So they had like a skid loader moving pallets of stuff out of the way. And again, it is 3:00. And I said, hey, we need to start getting ready. Like, at least the chairs were out for ceremony. There's at least chairs out for ceremony.
Yeah.
And there were linens on the tables and bouquets on the tables. But there were no bouquets fixed yet for the bride. She was working on that when I got there.
That should have been like,
right. So I'm like, oh, okay. This is a new for me. And then it came down to, okay, what do we need to do? Your parents need to get inside to get ready so we can do first look and get photos started. And mom come in, she goes, well, I don't have anyone to load up the tent. Can you just start without me? And I look at the bride and I said, are you okay with your mom? Mm-hmm. Are you okay with your mom not being in your photos? And she said, no, I want to run my photos. And I looked at mom, I'm like, you need to get dressed.
Yeah.
And like, you need to go take a shower. You need to go get dressed. And so I became the coordinator for the day, to where that finally got dad dressed, got to do the first look. That was great. Now it's 4:00 by that time. So we have 30 minutes before ceremony. So I'm like, we are not doing any photos before this. Mm-hmm. And it's 4:25 and they come to me. They're like, we don't know how to walk down the aisle. What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know how to walk? We don't know how we're doing it. What are we supposed to do? So not only did I have to, I'm like, all right, who's the maid of honor? Well, we don't really have a maid of honor. I'm like, okay, well, who do you want standing next to you? I think I want my sister. Okay. So we didn't have
to think about this.
No,
this is like giving me anxiety right now.
So I had to help them line up. And then it came down to, you guys know like how long you're supposed to wait, like give each other gaps, right? You don't want us to all walk down together. Are you walking down together? No, we're not holding, like they're not doing escorting. We're just separately walking down together. I said, okay, are you including parents? Yes. Okay, do you want your parents to go first? So I literally had to do the whole lineup.
That is like a
5 minutes.
That's a meeting that we have like weeks before the wedding.
5 minutes before the ceremony.
I just did that meeting last week for my June 21st wedding, which we are recording this May 28th. So
yes,
a full month in advance is when I sat down with the bride and groom and we talked through the entire who's sitting on bride's side, groom's side. What are the names of the people in every single chair? How are we walking down?
Right.
How are they standing? How are they walking out? It was a full hour-long meeting just about
as why everyone needs a planner, right? So here I am doing that. By the way, I have to run up to the front to make sure I capture everyone coming down. But then I have a groom.
You're like, sorry, 1 second. I'm trying to actually like take photos.
The groom, I kick myself in the butt for having to do this because I was like, oh my gosh, he literally almost walked down with, like he was so close to his parents that I almost didn't get a chance to photograph him, like cause him walking down because his parents were walking and then he was right behind his parents. I had to wave my hands and be like, stop. Like, and of course everyone's looking at me. They're like, what's going on? But it's like, yes. So then he finally stopped. And then I was able to capture him walking down. Cause again, that's part of a shot list that I feel like is important.
The groom walking down the aisle.
So yes. And so finally, then it kind of went down smooth. And then it was, they didn't have a DJ. They had a band, but they didn't understand the fact of the band didn't know that they were supposed to like play music during the ceremony. So I have a bridesmaid on her phone messaging the band that's clear over here as they have a Bluetooth speaker close to the ceremony spot. And the music is playing as the officiant is attempting to start the ceremony. And I'm over here like, turn it off, like trying to give cues to turn the loud music off. Cause again, it is so loud. Like you couldn't even hear yourself think it was so loud.
You're giving me anxiety.
Yes. So not only I became the coordinator, and then no one knew how to do boutonnieres. Florist didn't help. Unfortunately, I always feel like I know, but I always feel like there needs to be a designated person.
It's usually me.
Or it's usually me. But I feel like there needs to be a designated person, whether a florist needs to stay with an assistant or something to that. I feel like there needs to be someone 100% in charge of that.
Yeah.
That's another point. But it came down to where I was pretty much the coordinator and the planner and the mediator and
the only photographer. You didn't even have a second.
Only photographer here to capture this day.
How was your blood pressure that day?
I think I cried the whole way. No, I didn't cry.
It's okay. I did a house wedding once and I 100% went in the garage and cried.
Yes. I think I did. Like I got in my car and that's what's like sealed the deal where I will not have a wedding moving forward. I will not have a wedding without a planner or a coordinator or something. It turns down to me being the planner or coordinator. my expertise is the photography. That is my expertise, but I am 100% a team player on making sure if anything needs, like,
there's a difference between you being a team player or you having to do a whole other role. And it's, I mean, I don't even do day of coordination because you can't figure that stuff out on the day of.
The day of, right.
You have to be talking that month prior.
Correct.
So I don't even offer day of coordination because you can't coordinate that day. So I can't even imagine like the photographer trying to be the day of coordinator.
Coordinator.
No, I can't.
Yes.
I can't.
And it's one of those things that's like, spend the money. You need it. It needs to be, it's as important as a venue. It needs to be at the top of your list. And like I said, my wedding was $10,000 total of everything. And I made sure I had somebody that was able to be there to help coordinate it the day. Yeah. It comes down to, you need to know what the importance is, and a planner and a coordinator is definitely important.
Asking me like, do I need a coordinator? I don't know if I need one. I'm going to send them your way.
Yes. Show them this podcast.
Show them this podcast.
Because in the photographer, and here it comes down to, as a photographer too, it's one of those, we need to know boundaries for ourselves too. And yes, I may have moaned and groaned on that day, but it needed to be done. I stepped up. I know I needed to help them. Yeah. It's like, it's their day too. It's important. And yes, I know I played the role, but again, it needs to come down to you guys. Everyone needs to budget that in their wedding budget. It's important. And photographers, we have to set boundaries, and them being like, oh, but you can do the timeline for us. Yes, that's fine. I will help with it. I will help and assist with the timeline, but the expertise on that timeline is the planner, because they're the one that's helping planning the day. So, and coordinating the day. So when I have a wedding with a planner, I know beforehand, before we even gets finalized or anything else like that, I know you and I would call each other and plan out the day together. And the same thing with any other media team. Videographer needs to be on a call too, to understand the day too. And all the vendors need to know how this day is rolling on their expertise on what they do.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry that you had that horrible day, but
hey, I learned a lot.
Moving forward, you won't do a wedding without a coordinator, so they can do their job and you can do your job.
Right.
Well, I really appreciated you coming and being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Last minute advice that you'd want to give our listeners if you had to give them one last golden nugget?
One last golden nugget. There's so many nuggets. One last golden nugget is, I always feel like your wedding day goes by so fast. I mean, you blink and it's gone. And you spend all that time planning it and making decisions. And I always tell you need to enjoy it.
Yeah.
If there's too much stress, you need to find someone to take over that stress. So whether it's, a family member or a planner, it needs to be implemented. You are here to enjoy your time, enjoy your day, enjoy what God has done. Like I said, he has brought you two together in unity, and you guys are now one. It needs to be, make sure it's like these two together. So he doesn't want you to stress. God does not want you to stress. So implementing somebody to help you with that stress is my big golden nugget here.
Yeah.
But also my golden nugget for professionals that are listening to this. I think you saw it on my story yesterday.
Oh, I got
Please put your email address on your website somewhere. And the reason I say that is unfortunately it sucked because I wanted to reach out to like a different couple other vendors, and 4 vendors that I feel like are extremely good in what they do and are very well known did not have email addresses on their website. And I don't want to, yes, your contact page is great for brides and couples, but I'm a vendor. I want to be able to communicate with you. And if I don't have, and I don't like, I can Instagram you, but it's more professional for me to be able to, I want to send you an email. I deal with
it all the time because I don't necessarily want to do an inquiry form when I'm reaching out as a planner, but I often do. But then it's like, in the inquiry form, I'm like, do I put my name? Do I put the bride's name? Like I usually put my name because it's weird. Because if not, they'll write back being like, hi, Sally. And I'm like, well, actually I'm Sydney. I'm their coordinator, but I put but then I put Sydney funnel. And then they like, will make a contract or something, or the whole profile is like Sydney. And I'm like, well, no. It's just, I get it. I have a contact like form too. Like, and for brides, I love that because then it goes into my like lead form system, but it is like for professional purposes, like have an email as well.
Yes. Let me be able to contact. I want to contact you. I don't want to like I literally Googled this person to see if they had an email address.
I've done it before too.
And I just to have an email address. And if it came up, literally a contract of hers came up with her email address at the bottom. That's for so-and-so. And I'm like, well, here's the email address I found through Google to try to find you. But yeah, that's my golden nugget for professionals.
Golden nugget.
So I have my golden nugget for my couples and brides, and then I have my golden nugget for professionals.
There you go. Yes. There you go. Well, I so enjoyed having you on. I feel like you and I could talk for hours and hours, but thank you for coming and joining me and giving all this like advice. Yes. And where can listeners find you if they want to book you for photography?
Yeah. So definitely always come, like I always say, if you don't have a planner yet, you definitely find me through Sydney. But no, you can find me on Instagram at Brianna Rose Photography, and it's not photography for my tag; it's photograph because someone else has that tag, but they haven't used the Instagram since 2014, but it's still there. I feel like
message them.
I need to.
You too. Hi, yes. I'll give you $5 for this.
Yes, name. Please. And then, or else you can find me on my website at briannarosellc.com.
Perfect. Well, if you guys are looking for a photographer, Brianna is wonderful, easy to work with, beautiful photos. But thank you so much for coming. It was fun.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And if you need a planner, Cindy from Delightful Planning will definitely help you.
I got you.